Whenever you want to create transformation, it happens in these like 3 phases. Phase number 1, where you get all excited, really inspired, and things are flowing. And then once you start doing this work, you always hit the phase 2, which is like this phase 2 challenge. That's when you get tested. If you manage to stick through these, challenges and bad circumstances, that's where the real transformation happens. And you move to the phase 3 when everything becomes your new default and kind of effortless and start flowing again. Hi.
Hey, how are you?
1 second video. Very good. Thank you. How are you?
Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Is most of the coaching that you do, is that for business related stuff, or is it for life, relationships?
Mm-hmm. So it's what I call myself. I'm a transformational coach, which means that it's not about just like, little life improvements on how to have more balance in life. It's usually about creating the change and having that, quantum leap. That's what's the difference between transformational coaching and just life coaching. So we go really deep into like self-awareness. We unravel all the limiting beliefs, conditioning, and patterns and everything that's like within you. And we reprogram that. And as a result, things on the outside change, whether it's your health, your weight, your business, relationships, and anything else. So this is that's why I work with people in all different areas of life. And with business coaching, I also do give people guidance in terms of strategy, how to get clients, because I work with a lot of coaches now as well. So, and I've done a lot of online marketing and creating my own programs and, drawing traffic to websites. So I have a lot of knowledge in that. And also marketing is my background. Like previously, that's what I used to do. So I kind of combine the two. But even when I'm coaching someone in terms of business, we always start with mindset as well. Because you need to get into alignment with your purpose, with your mission, and to make sure that you don't have these inner conflicts that are sabotaging you. Mm-hmm. So that's what's kind of the difference. So some people are just merely interested in changing, their relationship with themselves and just their mindset. And some people are combining that with business. Mm-hmm. So as I said, I work with other health coaches and holistic practitioners to help them build their own platform, define their message, get the clients, create online programs, and so on.
I'm curious, what are the things that you're working on with your clients now? What seems to be the big relevant issues that come up?
Okay, so I mostly work with women, and it's all about kind of confidence and self-love at the core of it. So usually people come to me with all the different issues. Some of them are not happy about their career. They want to start their business, or, they have health issues or weight problems, or something else is not working in their lives, including relationships or whatever. So it's it all starts at the surface. And I always like to go really, really deep and get to the core issue of the problem. And it's normally about your beliefs or something that, some limiting beliefs that are holding you back. A lot of times it's got to do with worthiness and feeling I'm not good enough, or I need to fix myself, I need to get there in order to be worthy of having what I really deeply desire. And as I said, I mostly work with women, so I can talk only about women. Probably with men it's similar, but it's all about not giving yourself permission to claim what you really desire and thinking that I need to earn it. Whereas what I believe, and throughout my whole experience, personal experience, as well as working with so many people, I know that we don't have to earn our freedom or our right to claim what we really want. It's all about just having that worthiness. And when you feel like you're worthy, then you naturally manifest the things that you really desire. So it's not about just taking some sort of action on a surface level, because that never works. It can only work just temporarily. But if you don't change those deeper beliefs, and especially your identity, how you see yourself and your worthiness, then that change will only be temporary.
So how do you go about healing a sense of worthiness?
Yeah. So first, you need to really get to the core of the issue, understand what caused it. And it's normally got something to do with a trauma that happened in a childhood, and not necessarily trauma as we think trauma needs to be something like really dramatic that happened to us, like an abuse or whatever. Most of the times, trauma can be just inflicted by something like neglect. Even if you had parents that loved you and were there for you, but you felt it wasn't enough, or at some point your needs were not met. So a lot of times trauma happens when your needs are not met. And for a little child, it can be just simply as not getting enough love or attention, or just something small can trigger it. And it's not about what really happens. So trauma is not what happens on the outside. It's more about how we experience it and how we internalize it. So getting really to the core of it and understanding it and really going through it again and seeing also the positive intention of these protection mechanisms that get formed, that's what helps to transform it. So it's like a really long process of going within, not necessarily long, but like going deep. So understanding, and first of all, like having the awareness, what happened, why it happened, then finding the alternative kind of stories and explanations. That it's not necessarily you were not good enough as a child, which we kind of subconsciously create this belief. But it's more about understanding my parents were busy and this happened and whatever. And then understanding why these protection mechanisms were created. Like, for example, feeling that I'm not good enough. It is a form of protection mechanism. So you kind of disappoint yourself first to protect yourself from disappointing from the outside. So kind of create all these bad situations. So you create the hell yourself so that the real life hell doesn't get you in a way. And hell is like on a spectrum. It doesn't have to be that traumatic. But let's say you kind of, a lot of women, they think, oh, I'm not worthy of that relationship that I want to have. I'm not worthy to have this body. So they almost like disappoint themselves because they're afraid that if I really go for it and then I don't get it, that's going to be so painful that it's kind of almost more manageable and easier to disappoint yourself first. But obviously this is not happening on a conscious level. It's all subconscious. But once you unravel it, then you're one step closer to healing it.
So that's the self-sabotage?
Yeah. People call it self-sabotage, but I don't really believe in self-sabotage, because if you really unravel it, what it means is like some sort of inner conflict, conflicting beliefs and desires. So even though it looks like I'm punishing myself or I'm like sabotaging myself, but it's really, there's always a positive intention. And a lot of times it's got to do with protection, just protecting ourselves. Because if I go out of my comfort zone, then there's so many threats outside and we think it's like unsafe, or we think that we have to sacrifice love and connection for it. So we kind of sabotage ourselves. So for example, if you believe like, or if you have a desire to be free and have let's say a business that is like you are location independent and you do what you want, but then if you don't believe that you're worthy, there's like a conflicting belief and desire. So as long as you have that inner conflict, there's no chance you're going to achieve what you want. So it's either about downgrading the desire or upgrading the belief. There's no way around it. So it's quite simple, but not always easy. And it requires like deep commitment to this work. But once you do it, once you dig deep and you really reprogram yourself, that's where you can start manifesting things in your life.
So as you're saying that, I'm thinking about a situation for myself where I wonder, am I sabotaging or am I working against a belief? So here's the situation is that I have tried to do things that didn't work out for me. Mm-hmm. And it's difficult to determine, was that a result of a limiting belief, or was that just not in alignment with my life at that time? Mm-hmm.
So it can be one or the other. It's all about asking yourself like questions and really understanding what's happening deep down. So do you want to go a little bit into this process and unravel it? Or is that too personal?
No, well, I'd have to think of like a good example. Like, so specifically I do breath work as guidance for people. And there are certain places where it seems to be really popular and well received, and other places where it's not. And so that's what I was thinking about was like, for example, when I was in Bali, everybody wanted it and I was super busy and it was awesome. Yeah. And then I'm in Hawaii now and it seems like mediocre reception. I'm doing a workshop at the beginning of next month, and I've done a couple individual sessions, but and so that's what I'm kind of asking myself is, am I pushing against a limiting belief here, or is the bigger plan of my life not supporting me doing that right now? It's kind of complicated. So I can't tell. I just can't tell what the message is.
So when you say like I'm pushing against limiting belief, what is that limiting belief? How would that statement sound like?
I think the limiting belief would be something like, you're not good enough, or you're not mature enough to do this work with people.
And how was that when you were in Bali? Was that somehow different, or?
I don't know. There's something special about Bali. It's just kind of wild there. I don't know what to say. I think a lot of people are much more accepting and ready, and they want to jump into change. And that's what I do, is I help people do that. So that's what made it a lot of fun, to have this whole community excited about looking into something new.
Yeah. And how long did you stay in Bali doing this work?
It's about 3 months, 2.5 months.
So it's not a long time. And you grew up in Hawaii, right?
I grew up in Washington, but I've been in Hawaii the last couple of years.
So it seems like Hawaii, like you're more attached to Hawaii, and like your normal identity is there, and like a lot of people and environment reminds you of who you really are, or who you really are, I mean, like what you're used to being. So sometimes when we go to new places, like Bali especially, or something that, supports our new identity, it's very easy to be what we call our true self, and to be more free and express ourselves. And then we are not so held back by these limiting beliefs, because we are supported by the environment to be who we really want to be. So then it's easier to step up and do the things that we really want. And I've had it a lot of times, like in my own life, when you go especially to a new place, you feel like it's a fresh start. I can be whoever I want. And you kind of forget, and you leave your old attachments and your old identity somewhere else. Whether it's home or some place that you used to live for a long time. But like a lot of times when you then go back to your normal environment, you get reminded about your old limitations and about your old self. Yeah, go on.
As you're saying that, I'm reminded of all the personal work that I've done, releasing, any anger and resentment and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, I'm so wise and mature. And then I go back for the holidays and visit with my family. And then I start acting the way I did when I was, a 17-year-old.
Yeah, and it's so natural. There's a saying by Ram Dass, thing like, if you think you're enlightened, go and spend a week with your parents. Yeah. And there's a reason for that, because especially people who are very close to us, they remind us of our limitations and of our old identity. But that identity, that personality, it doesn't have like a solid reality. Like, it's just a perception in your mind. It's all these attachments. And basically what identity or personality is, it's all these things that other people, like including your parents, teachers, peers, and other people told about you throughout your whole life, and you accepted it as truth. But it doesn't really have a solid reality. It's not something real. It's just a perception. And when we are surrounded by that environment, it's almost like in the wall sometimes. When I go back to my parents' house, I feel it. It's all habits and issues start coming up. But it's not something, again, it's not a sabotage. And it's not something like the setup by the universe or whoever created this whole, system. It's not something to like mock you or test you in a bad way. It's actually here to help you. So if that's who you truly want to be, then you get tested, and kind of it helps you. Like, if you really want to be this new person, can you handle this external kind of resistance? Can you truly show that you're really committed to being what you want to be? Because it's very, very easy to be grateful and manifest things and like be super happy when things are going your way. And it's easy to love yourself and accept yourself when you're happy about yourself and, you know, everything is flowing. It's really when shit hits a fan, or when things are not working, or when you are challenged and when you're tested. These are the perfect opportunities to really show the universe or life what you're made of. And my biggest transformations like happened in life, not when I was, you know, just supported and everything is flowing. It's really when like things were not working. But I knew well enough, okay, this is not the time to back off and just say like, okay, life doesn't work. I'm not like, it's not happening. It's really, okay, this is a perfect opportunity to really, really get serious and to practice even more, to do this inner work even more seriously. And whenever I stuck to it and stuck to this new frequency, you know, that I want to hold, this new identity that I want to be, that's when, you know, it became a default. And that's now it's easy for me to go back home and not to be challenged by the old beliefs. But it's not because I'm somehow special or, you know, something, you know, it's easy for me. It's because I practice for years, you know, doing certain work. Like, for example, in terms of self-worthiness and self-love and holding my own space and supporting myself. And once you do it long enough, it becomes your default and becomes effortless. But it sounds to me like you've been challenged and tested, but it's for your benefit. So if you can really stick to it and just really find the ways how to do this work, if you feel that it's really your calling.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you're saying that you kind of set the initial motivation you can set an initial motivation in a space that's more free and open, but it really, really takes root when you can go back.
Yeah. And it always happens. Whenever you want to create transformation, it happens in these like 3 phases. Phase number 1, where you get all excited, really inspired, and things are flowing, and you start doing things, and you have this beginner's luck, and just feel like, yes, this is my calling. So this is a phase 1. And we can't create the change without that. And usually, like, sometimes it stems from some like hitting the rock bottom and then being inspired. But it's all about that inspiration and hope and belief. And then once you start doing this work, you always hit the phase 2, which is like the phase 2 challenge. That's when you get tested. But as I said, you get tested not in a way to just like mock you or, you know, sabotage you, but it's more about, it's an opportunity to you to really show what you're made of. And if you stick to it, and if you manage to stick through these, you know, challenges and bad circumstances, that's where the real transformation happens. And you move to the phase 3 when everything becomes your new default and kind of effortless and start flowing again. But this phase 2, it's like a safety trigger. So it's like the universe is asking you like, are you really sure you want to be this new person? Are you really sure you want this new reality? Because if you can't handle this challenge of like not getting clients, of people not being interested, how can you handle this whole new reality of being this person who is an authority, who is teaching these things, if that makes sense? And I know because I went through the same process, like in all different areas of my life, in terms of even relationships and my business, career, health, weight, like everything. It always happens in this kind of 3-step process, if that makes sense.
You know, it's funny that you said the beginner's luck, because sometimes that actually makes the challenge, the phase 2 challenge, way, way, way harder. And I had in a personal business experience, very early on, I made a ton of money, and I was like, oh, this is just what I do now because I'm so good at it. And then it was like, so yeah, it was emotionally challenging to cope with coming out of that beginner's luck.
But that's what builds that resilience. And that's what you need to build your character. So it's like your warrior training. If everything was so super easy, then it would be easy for everyone. Everyone would be doing it. But it requires a certain character and certain strength and power in order to do that.
Yeah. So what about the concept of following your bliss and taking the path of least resistance?
Yeah, so following your bliss, and I know it's kind of can be very controversial, but that's when you really have to have a lot of self-awareness and really get really, really honest with yourself.
Mm.
Is it something that's coming from your deep knowing, from like your soul's blueprint, and you know this is your life's work? Or is it just coming from my ego and it's because it's easy, I'm just going to be lazy and not like, put in the work?
Mm.
So, and it's all about getting into alignment. And once you get into alignment, then you take action from that place. And doesn't mean that it's always going to be easy. But when you know that this is really like your soul's mission, then you just go through it, if that makes sense. And sometimes and it's all about, there's no right or wrong answer. You just have to get really, really honest with yourself. And if you just quiet your mind, your chatter mind, your analytical mind, and just sit with yourself in meditation and just do the, deeper work, like remove the distractions like phone and excess food or whatever, and just get really, really honest, then you will know.
Mm-hmm.
And once you do this work, which is really in alignment with your soul, even if it requires certain things that are not necessarily pleasant, but you'll be able to go through it easier. Whereas like something, just working in a easy job, and it's like the path of least resistance, it may be easy, but deep inside you feel so unfulfilled and you'll feel kind of empty. So that's how you know.
Yeah, I went through that.
Me too. Yeah, spent years being, in a job that was out of alignment. But then my soul was screaming so loud that I could not just stay there. I just had to create that change.
Yeah, and it's interesting for me. I went through that scenario of being 10 years at a job that was not fulfilling, and then there wasn't a clear direction of where it would go, but just that I was ready to be done with that.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a situation of jumping, and then the landing will come up to you, or the net will arrive, or
yeah, I've been in the same place. Yeah, when I quit my job in 2012, and I knew like I wanted to help people, I wanted to have my own business. I wasn't sure how I was going to do it, because back in the day, like there was no information as like now. There's so many free videos and so many people doing it. Back in the day, like even if it was only 7 years ago, not many people were doing it. There were not so many coaches, and I just felt like I can't stay there. I just like had faith and trust, and there was like something deep inside telling me just jump and the net will appear, like you'll figure it out on the way. And I did. Yeah.
Is it hard to convince someone to trust?
Well, I don't think anyone should be convinced to trust. Like, you mean the clients? Or like, you can't convince anyone to trust. You can just encourage them and remind them of it. But it's not my job to convince anyone of anything. I don't ever try to convince my clients or anyone else of anything, really.
Well, in the scenario of asking someone to step out of their comfort zone, I feel like that requires some amount of faith or trust to say, you're not happy where you are and you need to move, but I can't tell you what's on the other side.
Yeah.
And I imagine
I feel like
it's scary for people.
It is scary for people, but it's not my job as a coach to convince them of that. It's their job to do this work themselves and feel like I'm ready. And then once they're ready, I have the tools and I know how to take them to where they want to go. But I only work with clients who are ready. Like, yes, I want change. I'm ready for that change. Please help me. And then like, yeah, this person is definitely going to get the results. But if I try to convince someone of something, then, if someone's ready, they're ready. And that's why, as I said, I only work with clients who are already ready and committed, because I know then they're definitely 100% going to get the results. I haven't had a single client we hadn't had a complete transformation. But that wouldn't probably be the case if I was like trying to convince them, you need to change. Like, no, it's not my job.
Yeah. So when someone comes to you and they say, I have this problem, have you been in a scenario where you look at them or you hear them and you just say, you're not ready for this?
Well, first of all, I ask a lot of questions. So I do give away free sessions every single month. I have give a number of free sessions. So I would still try to help that person on for like 1 hour, ask them questions to really understand the situation. And then I'm going to offer them insights. But if I feel they're not ready, I'm just going to give them, the information, the insights, and maybe offer them some tools and practices that they can go and practice it themselves. And once they, if they're really serious, if they implement it and start seeing the change, then they can come back and we can reassess it. Because some people need to do some work by themselves first to just really increase that awareness and feel like I am ready. Because as I said, like, I don't think it's coach's job to convince you that you need that change.
Mm-hmm.